Welcome to your deep dive. Looks like someone's got a serious case of wanderlust.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this stack of material on Andorra is pretty impressive.
Mountain peaks, duty-free shopping, medieval villages. You name it, it's here.
You really went all out.
Get ready to explore the essence of Andorra because that's what we're about to do.
That's right, we're going to take you on a journey through this tiny nation nestled in the Pyrenees. And trust me, there's more to Andorra than meets the eye.
All right, I'm ready. First up, Andorra the Unique. This place really is a hidden gem.
It is.
How does a microstate, practically a pinpoint on the map between France and Spain, even exist?
Well, that's where the history gets really interesting.
Okay, lay army.
Andorra operates under a co-principality system.
A co-what?
A co-principality. They share a head of state.
Oh, okay. With France or Spain?
With both.
Wait, really?
Yeah, with both the French president and the Bishop of Urzel.
Wow, that's unique.
It's a system that dates back to the Middle Ages, and it's a big part of what makes Andorra so unique.
So it's like a political time capsule.
Exactly. It's one of the oldest surviving political systems in Europe.
I can't even imagine two leaders from completely different backgrounds and spheres of influence.
Right.
It definitely raises questions about how decisions are made and how this delicate balance of power has been maintained for centuries.
For sure.
I bet that makes for some interesting political dynamics. Now, these sources keep highlighting how much Andorra's geography has shaped its identity. It's all about those towering Pyrenees, isn't it?
Absolutely. Andorra's mountainous terrain has dictated everything, from its history and culture to its economy. Being isolated in the mountains for centuries allowed them to develop a strong sense of independence and a unique cultural identity.
Yeah, but it also presented challenges.
Of course.
Like what?
Well, think about it. Limited resources, challenging terrain, and a need to be self-sufficient.
Right.
This fostered a strong sense of community and resourcefulness. You see this reflected in their traditional crafts, their hearty cuisine, and their deep connection to the land.
So they had to be tough to survive up there. And now that same terrain is a magnet for adventure seekers, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at 3 national parks here. And one is even a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Val del Madru Perafita.
That's right. The Pyrenees offer everything from challenging climbs to gentle hikes.
So there's something for everyone.
Exactly. You can summit Coma Pedrosa, the highest peak at almost 3,000 meters, or you can explore gentler trails and just soak in the stunning scenery.
Speaking of activities, what about those ski resorts? Gran Valera sounds impressive.
It is. Gran Valera is the largest ski resort in the Pyrenees. Imagine carving down those slopes with panoramic views of the snow-capped peaks.
I've always wanted to try snowboarding. Maybe Andorra should be my first stop.
You should.
But it's not all about adrenaline-pumping adventures, right? What about the charm factor? These villages, Pal, Ordino, Le Baume, sound like they belong in a storybook.
They really do. Think cobblestone streets, medieval architecture, and a pace of life that's a world away from the hustle and bustle.
Seems idyllic.
And don't forget those Romanesque churches, like St. Joan de Cassels and Santa Coloma. They're architectural gems that offer a glimpse into Andorra's rich history.
I can picture it now. Wandering through those narrow streets, stopping for a coffee in a sunny plaza, maybe even stumbling upon a local craft market.
You got it.
And let's not forget about Andorra la Vella, the capital city.
Right?
It's the highest capital in Europe.
Yes.
And it's a fascinating blend of old and new. You'll find historical landmarks like Casa de la Val, the historic seat of government, alongside modern shops and restaurants.
It's a really cool mix.
And speaking of shopping, this is where I think things get really interesting. Andorra la Vella is a duty-free haven.
That's right. Andorra's duty-free status has made it a popular destination for shoppers.
They're looking for bargains on everything.
Yep, from electronics to luxury goods.
I'm seeing designer boutiques alongside local markets. Talk about a shopper's paradise. But how does this duty-free status impact Andorra's economy in the long run? It seems like it would make them heavily reliant on external factors.
Yeah, that's a crucial point. While duty-free shopping is a major draw for tourists, and it generates significant revenue, it does make Andorra vulnerable
Vulnerable too.
to fluctuations in global tourism trends, economic downturns, and even changes in neighboring countries' policies.
It's like they've built their house on a foundation that could shift at any moment. What are they doing to address this vulnerability?
Well, they're exploring ways to diversify their economy and reduce their dependence on those 2 pillars, tourism and duty-free trade.
Makes sense. What else are they doing?
They're looking at attracting foreign investment in sectors like technology and finance. And they're investing in renewable energy sources to reduce their reliance on imported energy. But it's a delicate balancing act
Because,
because they also don't want to compromise their unique identity and way of life.
right, it's like walking a tightrope between progress and preservation. Now, before we move on, I have to ask about Chaldea. The sources mention it as the largest thermal spa complex in southern Europe. Is it really as amazing as it sounds?
Oh, it's even better. Imagine. You spent the day exploring the mountains, maybe even summited Coma Pedrosa, and now you're soaking in naturally heated, mineral-rich waters surrounded by stunning mountain views.
Okay, you've convinced me. Chaldea is officially on my bucket list. But let's talk about another kind of indulgence, the food. I'm seeing mentions of escudella, which sounds like the ultimate comfort food soup, and trinxat, potato and cabbage. How can you go wrong?
Andorra's cuisine is a hearty and flavorful reflection of its mountainous terrain and its Catalan heritage. You'll find simple, rustic dishes made with fresh, local ingredients.
I'm sensing a theme here. Hearty food to fuel those mountain adventures. What about those Catalan influences? How do they manifest in the cuisine?
You see it in dishes like coca, a
Yeah.
savory flatbread often topped with grilled vegetables or meats, and then there are the sweet treats, like crema catalana, a rich custard dessert. It's a delicious blend of rustic mountain fare and Mediterranean flavors.
And they mentioned ratafia, a local liqueur made with walnuts and herbs. Those local specialties always add an extra layer of authenticity to the travel experience.
Absolutely, it's those details that make a place come alive.
This has been an incredible whirlwind tour of Andorra. I'm already feeling inspired to book a trip, but we've only just scratched the surface, haven't we?
We have a lot more to explore, including the cultural side of Andorra.
Hmm.
We've touched on their history and geography, but what about the people themselves? What are their values? What are their traditions? There's so much more to uncover.
Yeah, there's a lot more to discover. Andorra's culture is a fascinating blend of Catalan traditions, Spanish influences, and a unique identity shaped by their mountainous isolation.
It's amazing how they've managed to maintain their independence and distinct culture for so long,
Yeah.
especially being sandwiched between two larger countries like France and Spain.
It really is. It's a testament to their resilience and their strong sense of national identity. You see this reflected in their language, Catalan.
Oh, yeah.
It's been fiercely protected and preserved over the centuries. It's a symbol of their distinct heritage and their resistance to assimilation. That's incredible. I'm seeing in these sources that many Andorrans are also fluent in French and Spanish.
Right.
That must create a fascinating cultural dynamic.
It does. Andorra embraces multilingualism, and you'll find that people seamlessly switch between languages.
Wow.
It depends on who they're talking to. It speaks to their adaptability and openness to the world, but it also highlights their ability to navigate their unique position between these two major cultural influences.
I bet that makes for some interesting conversations. Now, we talked earlier about Andorra's duty-free status
Right.
and how it makes their economy vulnerable to external factors. Can we dig a little deeper into that?
Absolutely. Andorra's reliance on tourism and duty-free trade is a double-edged sword.
How so?
On the one hand, it's been incredibly successful in generating revenue and driving economic growth. But on the other hand, it leaves them exposed
Exposed to what?
to fluctuations in global tourism trends,
Mm.
economic downturns, and even changes in neighboring countries' policies.
It's like they've built their house on a foundation that could shift at any moment. What are they doing to address that vulnerability?
They're exploring ways to diversify their economy and reduce their dependence on these two pillars.
Tourism and duty-free trade.
Exactly. They're looking at attracting foreign investment
In what kind of sectors?
in sectors like technology and finance, and they're investing in renewable energy sources to reduce their reliance on imported energy. But it's a delicate balancing act.
I can imagine. Because they also don't want to lose their unique identity and way of life.
Exactly.
It's like walking a tightrope between progress and preservation. Now let's shift gears and talk about something a little closer to my heart. The food. We touched on some of the traditional dishes earlier, but I'm curious to know more about the dining experience in Andorra.
Ah, yes, the food. As you might expect, Andorra's culinary scene is a delicious blend of Catalan and French influences, with a focus on fresh, seasonal ingredients. They have everything from Michelin-starred restaurants to cozy mountain lodges, serving up hearty traditional fare.
I can just imagine those mountain restaurants. A crackling fireplace, rustic wooden tables, and the aroma of something delicious simmering on the stove. It sounds like the perfect setting for a cozy winter meal.
It really is. And one of the things that makes dining in Andorra so special is the emphasis on communal eating. It's not just about the food.
It's about.
It's about connecting with friends and family over a shared meal,
Mm,
enjoying good conversation, and savoring the flavors of the region.
that sounds lovely. And speaking of savoring flavors, we have to talk about ratafia, that local liqueur made with walnuts and herbs.
Ratafia is a fascinating drink. It really encapsulates the spirit of Andorra. It's made with locally sourced ingredients, steeped in tradition, and it has a unique flavor profile. It's both bitter and sweet, just like life in the mountains. It's often enjoyed as a digestive after a meal, but you'll also find it incorporated into desserts and even cocktails.
It sounds like a taste of Andorra in a glass. What about wine? I remember reading that Andorra has some burgeoning wine regions.
They do. The high altitude and unique microclimates of the Pyrenees create some really interesting wines, particularly their reds.
Interesting.
Andorran wines are starting to gain recognition
Four.
for their quality and their unique character.
So it's not just about the duty-free shopping and the stunning scenery. There's a whole world of culinary exploration waiting to be discovered in Andorra. Now, I'm curious about the people themselves. What are some of the values that define Andorran culture?
Andorrans are known for their strong sense of community, their deep connection to the land, and their fierce independence. They're hardworking, practical, and they value tradition and family above all else.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these values have been shaped by their history and geography. Like their isolation fostered a sense of self-reliance and community that's still evident today.
Exactly. Andorra's history is full of stories of resilience and adaptability, and a determination to preserve their way of life. This tiny nation, nestled high in the mountains, has managed to maintain its independence for centuries, despite being surrounded by much larger and more powerful neighbors.
It's a testament to their strength and their commitment to their heritage. But how are those values holding up in the face of modernization and globalization? It seems like it would be a challenge to balance tradition with progress.
It's definitely a balancing act. You see this tension playing out in their approach to tourism, for example.
Okay.
They want to share their culture and their natural beauty with the world, but they also want to protect their environment and their way of life.
It's like they're trying to find that sweet spot where tourism benefits their economy and exposes people to their culture without overwhelming their traditions or their environment.
Precisely. It's a challenge that many small nations face. And it's fascinating to see how Andorra is navigating this complex landscape.
Oh, so?
They're investing in sustainable tourism practices, promoting cultural exchange programs, and working to preserve their language and heritage.
It sounds like they're taking a very thoughtful approach to the future. Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. History, geography, culture, food, even the economic realities of this unique microstate.
We've only just scratched the surface, of course. But I hope we've given you a deeper appreciation for the complexities and the allure of Andorra. It's a place that defies easy categorization.
It does.
It's a blend of ancient traditions and modern aspirations, breathtaking scenery, and a warm, welcoming culture.
It's definitely piqued my curiosity. I'm already picturing myself exploring those charming villages, hiking those mountain trails, and maybe even trying my hand at snowboarding on the slopes of Gran Valira.
And who knows, maybe you'll even develop a taste for ratafia.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey. Thanks to you, I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of Andorra.
It's been my pleasure. And to our listener, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to delve deeper into the rich history, culture, and natural beauty of Andorra. You might just find yourself planning your own adventure to this extraordinary hidden gem nestled in the heart of the Pyrenees.
Happy